All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Really good to have you here. It is Tuesday, June 8th. You might be watching this on the playback. We welcome you. Thank you for joining us. I'm really looking forward to today's presentation. You are joining Cando's Links to Learning. It's this virtual community where we discuss various things, opportunity to listen to our guest presenters, but also to have dialogue and questions. So really looking forward to these two Esquao, these two women who are joining us this afternoon, Mackenzie Brown and Kayla Bellerose. We welcome you. We feel very honored that you've carved out a piece of your very busy lives, your very young, busy lives, to lend your voice to this tourism. So this Indigenous Tourism Alberta. I am particularly excited to go back, to tour, to visit places, just to get out there. So I'm really looking forward to what you're going to share this afternoon. But first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge where I'm living right now. I am here in Amiskwaciwaskahikan, Edmonton, Treaty 6 territory. This isn't my homelands. I come from Treaty 4, so I acknowledge this beautiful place that I'm able to live on and prosper and walk in a good way. I give thanks to Creator also for the gift of another day, a gift to learn, to grow, to listen, just to be in this virtual community. I know it's not the same as being in community, but nonetheless, we get to share stories and listen to stories and just really learn from one another. So a shout out to Creator for the gift of another day. When that sun rose in the east, it was a promise of another day. So thank you, Creator. So today's workshop is sharing our stories through Indigenous tourism. In Alberta, Indigenous tourism was $130 million industry before the pandemic, and is poised for recovery and future growth. And I gotta say, we are ready for that. Opportunities to work as an Indigenous operator, artisan, chef, and more are on the rise for this up and coming sector. So in today's session, join Indigenous Tourism Alberta to learn about the rapidly growing Indigenous tourism industry best practices and how you or your community can become involved. So really looking forward to today's conversation. So let me introduce our first guest, Mackenzie Brown. She is First Nations Nehiyaw Iskwew from the Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation and currently resides in Jasper. She just let us know she's living in the mountains. I'm so jealous. She has a background as a performer, drummer, tourism entrepreneur, philanthropist, and advocate for at-risk youth when she was here in Edmonton area. In addition to her past roles as Indigenous Tourism Development with both the Government of Alberta and Edmonton Tourism, she is well known across Canada for performing with her mom as warrior women. Together they drum and teach around Alberta for the Northern Alberta Teachers Conference, the annual Jasper Dark Skies Festival, Youth Dreamcatchers Conference, Canada Day, Aboriginal Day festivities, and much more. So I imagine she is very busy this month. In addition to drumming, she is also an avid acrylic artist and traditional First Nations crafts artisan. Her art has been featured in the Pump House Gallery, the Edson Gallery Museum, the Gray Gallery Grant MacEwan, recognized for the Alberta Indian Arts and Crafts Award in 2017. And I feel like this list could go on and on. She's also recently highlighted as the only Indigenous and Albertan artist, on the reality TV show Landscape Artist of the Year Canada, where she placed in the top 3 finalists. Congratulations. So I feel like we have a celebrity in the house today. She also received in 2019 the Esquao Award for Children's Future, which is remarkable. And in 2019, Indigenous Woman of the Year Award from the Alberta Assembly of First Nations And finally, the top 30 under 30 from the Alberta Corporation for Global Cooperation in 2020. So this is Esquao. This girl is on fire. And next, I am proud to introduce Kayla Bellerose. She is Nehiyaw Iskwew, Cree Métis woman from Slave Lake, Alberta, and Treaty 8 territory. She's joining us from Calgary. Kayla's maternal roots come from Big Stone Cree Nation and Sawridge Cree Nation, and paternal roots are settlers from England and Scotland. Kayla gratefully resides as a visitor in it's a Blackfoot word, which I don't want to butcher, so maybe you can tell us in a moment, Kayla. So in Calgary, Treaty 7 territory. So she has a background in doing youth work across Alberta, volunteering on the Calgary Public Art Board from 2018 to 2019, and consulting in the fields of tourism, education, healthcare, and city development planning. She has gained valuable experience working with youth in various programs, such as Alberta Future Leaders Program, which is awesome. The Indigenous Youth Leadership Program housed at the University of Calgary, and also facilitated her own creative art workshops in Indigenous communities across Alberta. That's amazing. She's also an artisan in her own. I'm going to read this because I think it's important. She's a visual artist with the artist name of Bibi Iskwew, symbolizing her traditional Cree name gifted from her Nukum, baby woman. The art practiced by Bibi Iskwew is an expression of her matriarchal roots and connection to Mother Earth teaching. Using the mediums of photography, illustration, animation, sculpture, beadwork, painting, and poetry, she shares her healing journey through this artistic visual medicine. She completed her Bachelor of Fine Arts with a minor in International Indigenous Studies from the University of Calgary in 2020. Congratulations. She is passionate in sharing her creative skills to help uplift Indigenous relatives and voices in the arts and tourism, and has a life goal of being a helper in creating a substantial economic ecosystem community for Indigenous entrepreneurs to thrive. Wow. So we are in the midst of incredible, powerful Esquao women. So I'm honored to introduce you. I'm honored that you are here to lend your passion and your stories. So I will pass the virtual mic. There will be an opportunity at the end for any questions or any dialogue. And if you have questions along the way, feel free to use that chat box and I will definitely make note. But we welcome you to our Links to Learning.
Wow, thank you so much, Michelle, for such a beautiful introduction. I don't think I've ever been introduced in such an amazing way. And I think Mackenzie too would agree. So yeah, deadliest Esquao. Yeah, hi, thank you. So that's when Kitiwaso Nimituaski Mekwanasqueo. Wabasca. So yeah, my family roots, my maternal roots are from Wabasca and Slave Lake. And yeah, I am from Treaty 6 and now I'm here in Treaty 7. So, and the Blackfoot word for Treaty 7, where the Elbow River meets the Bow, is Mokinstis. So yeah, very grateful to be a visitor in this territory, learned a lot here. And yeah, today, Mackenzie and I are going to share an Indigenous Tourism 101 presentation with you all who are going to be tuning in later. And yeah, I will share my screen now. Alrighty, let's see. All right, can everyone see this okay? And then, okay, perfect. So Indigenous Tourism Alberta. So ITA actually started in 2018. So the Indigenous tourism industry in Alberta is is still in its development phase. It's growing very fast, but it's definitely has grown a lot since 2018, and that's really exciting. So yeah, ITA is a membership-based organization providing support to Indigenous tourism businesses that are independently or community-owned or controlled. So ITA is a provincial destination marketing organization for Indigenous tourism in Alberta. Through innovative partnerships, ITA provides leadership and development and marketing of authentic Indigenous tourism experiences. ITA's goal is to create a thriving Indigenous tourism economy by sharing authentic, memorable, and enriching experiences. And what's so beautiful about ITA is, our membership in 2020, the year that COVID hit tourism pretty hard, ITA was actually had the biggest increase in members across Canada in Alberta. So that was really exciting. So yeah, membership with ITA, we provide helpful and useful support to help build the success of Indigenous tourism businesses through development and training, marketing and partnerships. So yeah, I'm the development coordinator, and then Mackenzie is our project manager. And yeah, so that is ITA. So yeah, we're non-for-profit, and then our mission is to grow and promote authentic, sustainable, and culturally rich Indigenous tourism experiences, showcasing Alberta as a premier Indigenous tourism destination. And what's so beautiful about Alberta is, the diversity of Indigenous peoples across this province is really reflected in the diversity of the land as well. The landscape is so different across Alberta. You go in the north and there's so much muskeg, bush, beautiful lakes. You go south, there's badlands, the plains, buffalo jumps, beautiful mountain glacial rivers, and the Rocky Mountains. So yeah, Alberta is very diverse. So our vision for Indigenous tourism here is to see Indigenous peoples of Alberta thrive through a financially sustainable Indigenous tourism economy, sharing culture and stories. So I'm going to play a video. Let me know if you can hear the sound. I got to figure out. I'm just going to make sure that I'm. Okay, I believe that I'm sharing my sound. Okay, let's see. Can you hear this okay? Give me a thumb. No? Technical difficulties. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. I could hear the beginning, but it's just a little bit laggy is the only thing.
Okay. Where do you share your sound? I'm just gonna make sure. Oh, right here, share sound. Haha, there we go. All right, I'll start this over. Thank you for your patience, by the way. So this is a video by Indigenous Tourism Canada, and it's really beautiful. And so just want to give you a visual into what is Indigenous tourism in Canada. So there's operators across the country featured in this video, including some of our own members.
We have a story to tell. It's an opportunity for us to share our culture, about who we really are.
Everybody in the world has an Aboriginal past. Doesn't matter what country you come from, there were Aboriginal people of that land, but they're so far removed from it from thousands of years of separation, whereas we're still living in living memory in Canada. I am a traditional guide. I come from a very long lineage of people who made that as their living to bring explorers through this area to teach them about the land. Aboriginal people are able to really reconnect with their own culture and traditions, and perhaps even learn more and more as we take a step back into our traditional ways of life and our knowledge. And we're doing that through tourism. It's a wonderful way for us to reconnect with actually who we are as well.
Each nation has something particular to bring. All the nations that exist, they can bring their own experience that is going to enrich the rest of society.
It is a great honor for me to present my nation to these people that come sometimes from halfway around the world. It is a great responsibility, I believe, to present my culture in the most honest and historically accurate way possible, because I might be the only one that they ever meet.
The tourists that would come here, they need to leave and to say, without them, we would not be who we are today. We would not know Canada as it is today.
They want to listen. They want to learn. They want to take something back to their own communities and people and family, that they've come and experienced something wonderful that they heard about, but now they actually come here and experience firsthand.
We get everything from a store, and there was a time, that you had a relationship with everything. You don't see caribou, it's not in life today, but it certainly was big in the old days. It sustained us. Every time I do a image of a caribou, in some way repopulates them, at least in our mind and our memory. I think that's one way to keep these stories and our culture alive.
The doors to Aboriginal tourism across Canada and around the world are opening.
We are able to present our culture in quite an honest way, yet at the same time live off the tourism industry that stems from sharing that culture.
It's a great way to help to benefit the communities financially, but it's also a wonderful way to connect people to our culture, to learn a little bit more about who we are from us. I think what they really want is that true immersion experience of being able to be part of this landscape.
They want to beat the drum. They want to dance the dance. They want to be able to share in that and feel it in the heart and be able to remember it forever, because once you hear the beat of the drum, you'll never forget it.
All right. There we go. All right, so yeah, that video, I feel like there's a lot of messages in it, and every time I watch it, I kind of interpret it in a new way, and it just shows, across Canada, Indigenous peoples are so diverse, and everyone has their own story to share. And when visitors come to these lands, that's the authentic story, is the people of these lands. And so being able to connect visitors with Indigenous peoples really shares that authenticity, and that, our cultures, and sharing our stories in an authentic way. So it's really powerful. And I think that immersive experience really helps connect people in a good way to create those good relations. And that's a conversation we have a lot amongst ITA and with our members and in our workshops, is like within entrepreneurs, is actually, you know, how would you define Indigenous tourism through your ancestors' lens, or through that kind of way of knowing? And, you know, it's being in good relation and welcoming visitors in a good way. And even we've seen that throughout, you know, like even the fur trade, right? All those trade routes, creating those relationships. So even before this like mainstream tourism industry within Canada was created, before that, Indigenous tourism really has been around for a really long time, right? We used to visit each other and gather in different parts of the land, very migratory peoples. So yeah, we've been visiting each other for a long time, right? So Indigenous tourism, I'm going to share some definitions with you. So Indigenous tourism is all tourism businesses that are majority owned, operated, or controlled by First Nations, Métis, or Inuit peoples, and can demonstrate a connection and responsibility to the local Indigenous community and traditional territory where the operation resides. So I think that responsibility piece and the connection, that authentic connection, is really important within the Indigenous tourism industry. So Indigenous cultural tourism meets the Indigenous tourism criteria as well. A significant portion of the experience incorporates culture in a manner that is appropriate, respectful, and true to the Indigenous culture being portrayed. So the authenticity is ensured through the active involvement of Indigenous people in the development and delivery of the experience. So we see a lot of these experiences where people are sharing their own story, it's collaborated on, and it involves community. And so we have actually, just in the picture there, I want to give a shout out to Joe Uri from Jasper Tour Company. So he resides in Jasper and shares a lot of stories about, you know, his own story of being Métis and even Métis history in the Jasper region, and connects people to the land that way on his tours. All right, so an Indigenous cultural experience. So this one doesn't necessarily meet the Indigenous tourism criteria. However, it offers the visitor a cultural experience in a manner that is appropriate, respectful, and true to the Indigenous culture being portrayed. So an example of that is Head Smashed in Southern Alberta, Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. So it's actually managed by Alberta Parks. However, they offer experiences that are hosted by Nitsitapi, so Blackfoot peoples. So they have community members on site at the Buffalo Jump to share their story and to give that authentic experience to travelers that visit. And this is a really fast growing industry, which I think is really exciting, is actually Indigenous culinary tourism. So this is providing culinary experiences that include foraging, preparing food that represents and respects Indigenous culture and traditions. So I love this picture, the shirt, my love for my people is stronger than anyone's hate. That's such a good message, you know, even with everything that's been going on lately. But yeah, that is Scott Iserhoff, who is based in Edmonton, and he's from Pibis Cho. So contemporary Indigenous cuisine, and he's Swampy Cree, but he's an Indigenous chef, and he, you know, creates these beautiful meals that are really like created from his knowledge, growing up with his grandparents, his kukum and mushum, who really taught a lot of traditional foraging skills with him in the bush, and now he's turned it into a contemporary cuisine that he shares with visitors. And so really beautiful meals. So that's a good example of culinary tourism, and it's really exciting, you know, being able to forage plants and create a dish by the end. Like that's such a relationship with the land, a really powerful relationship to be able to eat in that way. as many say, food is medicine. So within ITA, our organization has these 4 strategic pillars, which really helps keep the industry moving forward within the province of Alberta. So we have the development pillar, which is where I coordinate. So really supporting, entrepreneurs develop their business. And then we have marketing partnerships, with industry partners, such as like Travel Alberta. And then we have leadership. So really taking the lead on getting those initiatives started. So I'm going to pass the mic to Mackenzie, but I just want to say thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a message at any time.
Thank you so much for that, Kayla. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us kind of through a little bit of an overview of what the tourism space looks like right now in Alberta, as well as a couple of things that are going on nationally. Then we'll go into a bit of the work that we do at ITA. And if you are in BC or if you are in Saskatchewan, a lot of the work is very similar because we have provincial marketing organizations across Canada right now, which is really exciting. So I'll go through some of that. So in Alberta, which is where we are at, prior to the pandemic, tourism really looked like 0.8 person visits, and that's millions. Out of those 34.8 million people who visited within Alberta, actually 29.1 of them were from Albertan residents. So people don't realize that 80% of the tourism industry within Alberta is Albertans traveling within our own province, because we really like to travel within our own province. We have like one of the best backyards, so a lot of people travel. But then 5.5 million people visit from outside of Alberta. So that might be domestically, like within Canada, or internationally. And the reason why both domestic travelers and international travelers are so important is because, one, when we travel within our own communities, we're keeping money within our economy. But then international visitors tend to spend 3 times more the amount than we do when we're traveling. And so if you think about, that trip that you might have taken to Mexico, you've probably spent a lot more money than you would have spent if you were going to go visit your family for the weekend. So we're seeing that prior to COVID, there was $8.5 billion in tourism expenditures. And within Indigenous tourism, as a part of that tourism landscape, prior to COVID, our GDP contribution was $166.2 million. And we see that there's over 3,000 jobs currently of people directly working in Indigenous tourism. And then in 2019, we found that we had 160 tourism businesses. However, we know that this number has changed a little bit. And we'll get to our membership actually the next slide, but we know that that number is actually a lot higher. So this is kind of the landscape of tourism that we're looking at. And Indigenous tourism currently and during COVID and prior to COVID is the fastest growing industry right now, which is exciting. So Kayla, to go to the next slide. Thank you so much. So this is our membership. So as Kayla had mentioned, we are a membership organization. Our membership is free right now until March 2021 or 22. It's already 21, isn't it? The time has gone by so fast with the pandemic. But we do have our members, and last year our membership increased to 148 members. So out of that, 138 of these members are Indigenous owned members, and then 10 of them are industry partners. So non-Indigenous companies that have really wanted to show their support in the Indigenous tourism. And our membership is based on something that's called being market prepared. So when you're working in tourism, you start with being in development, and then you work your way up to something that's called being export ready. So when you're export ready, that means that you're working with international travelers. It means that, those big bus tours or those smaller groups, that's who you're working with. But it's a little bit of a process to get up there. And so when we look at where our members are at right now, only 14.7% of our members are export ready. But on the flip side, 35.3% are in development, which means that eventually they'll move up to being visitor ready, eventually to be market ready, and then of course to being export ready. And that's really when ITA comes into play. We help our businesses navigate the tourism industry and increase their market preparedness so that they can get to whatever level they want for their business. I'll get you to go to the next slide, please, Kayla. Thank you. So in 2019, Destination Canada did some research because we've always known that there is a great demand for Indigenous experiences, but sometimes the big guys want those numbers. So they actually found, they put out studies, did a big year-long report, and Destination Canada found that 1 in 4 domestic travelers are looking for an authentic Indigenous tourism experience. So those are our neighbors, right? If you have 4 friends, at least one of them wants to take part in an authentic Indigenous experience. And then it increases to 1 in 3 international travelers. So that's pretty huge. And this is a great opportunity for us, especially during COVID, because people are wanting to travel in their own backyard. They have the time, they're not allowed to leave the province. And so I'm sure you may have gone somewhere new last year or hoping to this year as restrictions end up opening. So that's a really good thing for lots of our member businesses, that they're getting pretty busy this summer, which is exciting. I'll get the next slide, please. Amazing. So I'm going to go a little bit over what we do as an organization. And I had mentioned before that there are organizations across Canada. So we are a provincial marketing organization, but we also have the national marketing organization, which is called ITAC, which is the Indigenous Tourism Association of Canada. And ITAC's mandate right now is to get every single province and territory to have a provincial or territorial marketing organization, such as Indigenous Tourism Alberta. So no matter where you go, there is something that's either in the works or something that's already established. So we have ITBC in BC, we have Yukon First Nations in the Yukon, all these different places. But in terms of ITA, Kayla had mentioned that we have 4 strategic pillars, and all of our work really falls under these 4 strategic pillars. So the first one is development, which is where both Kayla and I work. And this is really anything to do with increasing market preparedness. If you have a business idea, you want to get into Indigenous tourism, you get to work with our team. So we have a couple different programs. We have our ITA Entrepreneur Workshop. So this is typically a one day in-person or a 2-day virtual workshop. We're going to be hosting these again come the new year. So January and February is when we're going to be doing these. And all of our programs and workshops are free. We also work with First Nations and Métis communities, because a lot of times communities actually want to create tourism as well. And the way that you go about that is a little bit different than if you were just a singular entrepreneur. So we have 2 programs that we work with communities, and that's our ITA Community Readiness Workshop and then our Pathways program. So today we've worked with some amazing communities. We've worked with Alexander First Nation, Siksika, Kainai, Swan River First Nations, Fort McMurray, Métis Local, and a couple others as well. So these are some really awesome community-owned programs that we do. And then for all of our allies or want to be allies, we have our cultural awareness program, because as many Indigenous people know, the way that we do business is quite different than our Western friends. And so we have a cultural awareness program where we take people through a one-day workshop on culture, Indigenous awareness, and then some more information on how to build reciprocal relationships with Indigenous communities in terms of tourism efforts. We also have stimulus and microgrants. And then this is a really fun one that I want everybody to keep in mind and plug in for November. We're going to be having our Indigenous Tourism Summit. So this is a 2-day summit. It's province-wide, and it's a celebration. We have a gala awards night. We have a Taste of the Nations experience. We showcase a couple different tourism entrepreneurs, and then we have a full 2-day program built out on tourism, on building tourism, Indigenous tourism. So plug that in your mind, mark it down in your calendar in November, most likely the latter half. And we're looking at Great Eagle Resort and Casino for that one. And then Kayla, I'll get you to go to the next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. As we've mentioned before, we are a provincial marketing organization. So marketing, of course, is another large pillar of ours. From marketing, it's really getting the word out about our members. We have a website. If you're looking to travel within Alberta, I highly recommend checking out our website. Our social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We also attend different conferences and trade shows. And then, of course, we also do content creation as well. So we'll probably share a couple of those videos if we have the time at the end of our presentation. And I'll get the next slide, please. Thank you. And then we also work in terms of leadership and partnership. So this really comes from a top-down level. ITA is an advocating voice for Indigenous tourism and kind of economic sovereignty for Indigenous nations through tourism. So we really look at helping other destination marketing organizations such as Explore Edmonton, Calgary Tourism. We help to get them to prioritize Indigenous tourism and, make these kind of promises and these moves toward, if you're going to have an event in Edmonton, that, you have a treaty acknowledgement, that you have an elder's blessing, that you include Indigenous artisans and entertainment during your event. So that's something that we're also very passionate about, because we're not going to grow an entire industry alone. We do need those amazing allies who create those partnerships with us. And then we try to do this nationwide. So we are always meeting with our other provinces and territories and looking at how we can have that advocacy for Indigenous tourism growth across Canada. And then, of course, I have to touch on COVID. COVID threw a wrench in everybody's plans, especially in tourism. So we do have a brand new strategy moving forward. It's a 4-year strategy created into 4-year plans, and we call it Recovery to Resiliency, moving forward together. And so if you want to go check out any of our information, we all have our plans and reports posted online as well. I'll get you to go to the next slide, please, Kayla. Yeah, so that's a little bit about Indigenous Tourism Alberta and Indigenous tourism, what it is, what we're doing to get there, some interesting workshops that you can be a part of if you're interested. But Kayla and I would love to open the floor to any questions, but I think before we do that, we'll just go to the final slide, and we have a video that we want to share for you. So this is a video that we created on some of our amazing experiences in Alberta.
Wow.
Thank you so much. I you guys did you recognize Sophia?
You just cut in and out there. I didn't catch what you said, Mackenzie.
No worries, I apologize. I was gonna say, did you recognize Sophia?
No, but I recognized Bear and Diane. If that was them.
Oh.
Bear and Diane. They had I think a place in Nordegg, but I knew them from years ago. So incredible, beautiful presentation. I believe, yes, Wild Horse Ranch. Oh, that takes me back. You are right in saying that we have a beautiful backyard here in Alberta. There's such beautiful landscape, and also I liked what you said, Kayla, is the diversity across this province. I feel like I should be planning a trip to Calgary at the end of November for your conference. You planted a seed, but thank you so much. I didn't know the offerings that this organization has. Those workshops. I had no clue. So thank you for enlightening me and letting me know there's some really good things that you offer as an organization. It's beyond just the tourism aspect, right? I think, bringing in the teachings of our culture and having those kind of workshops, I think is so valuable, so important when people go explore and go take in this beautiful land and the scenery. And all of those aspects that come with tourism, there's this deep history and story. And so I think that piece is so integral. So thank you so much for sharing what you do behind the scenes. I didn't know, and so I feel very honored. I feel very excited for what's to come in Indigenous Tourism Alberta. So Christy, do you have any questions or comments? We do have time.
I'm good. I just love the presentation. Of course, I'm more focused. I'm in British Columbia, but I love the content and I love the video showing coast to coast to coast to what we can offer in Canada. It's wonderful. It's a fantastic presentation. I am so taken back that your organization is only 3 years old, right? Like it's for being so young, you have gone strides. So congratulations to all of you. Like you're doing great work. And tourism, being somebody who pays their mortgage because of it, the more partners we have, the more successful we are. So thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to attend. I feel really I feel that I'm in good company, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much, Christy. We love our neighbors in BC too.
That's only a mountain and I'm originally from Winnipeg, so I do have to apologize that we swept Edmonton. And I think Montreal should be calling me and giving me an apology as well.
Your apology is accepted.
Thank you. I am humbled. All right, ladies, I'm going to tap out if that's cool. I have another call coming in at 3 o'clock, so I got to prep for that. But again, thank you so much. And if we can ever lend you a hand from the other side of the mountain, please know you got a partner in me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Christy.
All right. Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful day.
Peace.
Thank you. Take
Bye
care.
now.
Awesome. Well, we have you both back here on Thursday at 10 a.m. I'm going to push this. I'm going to put it on my social media, get some more folks to come listen to this incredible story. And like Christy said, like only 3 years, and you have made a mark. You have accomplished a lot so far. That darn pandemic, hey, just gets in the way, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm looking forward to what's to come. So thank you so much for your time. again, I'm reading your bios. You both are incredibly busy women, Esquao. So thank you for carving this time to share with what you're doing. I look forward to seeing you in a couple days. And
yeah, us too. And we're gonna fast track our presentation a little bit on Thursday. We're gonna have 2 guest speakers. So 2 ITA members. We have Heather Black from Buffalo Stone Woman, who does amazing tours in the mountains. And yeah, she's Nitsitapi, Blackfoot. And then we also have John Ritchie from Hideaway Adventure Grounds. And yeah, he's from Kikino Métis Settlement. And yeah, just really amazing speakers. So I'm really excited for Thursday. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you again. So take care, be well, walk in the ways that Creator inspires you to walk. Do your thing. So take care, everyone. Peace.
Thank you for your kind words, Michelle. Naskamotin. Have a great night, everybody.